Hey T-Squad, it's Kirsty. We've traveled from Jonestown to Waco, UFO prophecies to bioterror plots. Today we're looking at one of the most controversial modern movements that still operates worldwide, the Church of Scientology. This story blends celebrity, secretive structures, courtroom battles, and accusations that have followed the organization for decades. Let's sip. In the early 1950s, science fiction author L. Ron Hubbard publishes a self-help system called Dianetics. It's pitched as a way to clear emotional scars called engrams through a counseling process known as auditing. Dianetics takes off, stalls, then reemerges when Hubbard founds the Church of Scientology in the mid-1950s. The promise shifts from pop psychology to a full spiritual path. You're an immortal being called a Thetan, and through training levels you can unlock superhuman awareness. Members study courses and undergo auditing with an e-meter, a device that's said to measure changes in mental mass. Step by step, you progress toward clear, then up secretive Operating Thetan levels. Public materials focus on communication skills, ethics, and knowing how to know. Higher-level materials described in leaks and court records introduce a cosmic backstory that critics say reads like science fiction. The Church treats these as sacred scriptures revealed at advanced stages. Scientology runs like a global corporation of churches and front groups. At the top is a paramilitary-style cadre called the Sea Organization, the Sea Org, whose members sign symbolic billion-year contracts to serve future lifetimes. Uniforms, ranks, long hours, and strict discipline are all part of the culture, according to ex-members. The Church says the Sea Org is a dedicated religious order. Critics and former insiders describe harsh conditions, limited family contact, and intense pressure to meet quotas or fundraising targets. Three phrases show up again and again in reporting and testimony. Fair game, and old policy critics say encouraged aggressive tactics against perceived enemies. The Church states the term was canceled in the 1960s and that it doesn't permit illegal acts. Disconnection, the practice by which members sever contact with people labeled suppressive. The Church calls it an individual's right to choose relationships. Ex-members say it functions as social control, splitting families. The whole. Ex-Sea Org executives have alleged they were confined to a punitive office compound nicknamed the Hole. The Church denies illegal imprisonment and says people were free to leave. In the 1970s, Scientology's intelligence arm ran Operation Snow White, a sweeping campaign to purge government files the Church deemed false or discriminatory. It crossed legal lines. FBI raids uncovered infiltration of U.S. agencies. 11 Scientologists, including Hubbard's wife Mary Sue, were convicted. A separate, decades-long battle with the IRS ended in the early 1990s when the Church received tax-exempt status in the U.S., a huge win the organization still cites as validation. After Hubbard retreats from public life and dies in 1986, leadership consolidates under David Miscavige. He's credited by supporters with expanding properties and media outreach. Dissenters some very high-ranking allege verbal and physical abuse under his reign. Miscavige and the Church deny those allegations. What's not disputed? He runs a tight ship, and loyalty is everything. Scientology has actively courted celebrities through special centers and tailored services. That strategy pays off with high-profile members who help promote courses and events. But the spotlight cuts both ways. Documentaries, investigative series, and civil suits by former members have amplified allegations of coercion, harassment, and cover-ups. The Church responds aggressively, saying critics are liars with axes to grind, and that the religion legitimately helps people improve their lives. You'll hear two starkly different stories. From dedicated members, success in career and family, better communication, tools to handle stress, and a tight community. From ex-members, escalating costs for courses, pressure to donate, auditing notes that feel deeply invasive, and fear of retaliation if they speak out. Both experiences can be true for different people, at different points. What's consistent is the organization's intensity. Across multiple countries, Scientology's status varies from recognized religion to controversial organization facing restrictions. New lawsuits surface, others settle or get compelled to religious arbitration, which critics say keeps disputes out of open court. The Church says arbitration is part of its ecclesiastical system, just like many faiths. If a group promises a perfect version of you but access requires escalating payments, caution. If criticism is treated as spiritual treason rather than feedback, caution. If personal confessions are recorded and stored, ask who controls them and how they're used. If loved ones urging caution are labeled toxic, consider whether isolation is the point. That's the Church of Scientology, a polarizing movement where devoted followers see transformation and critics see control. Whichever lens you use, the mix of secrecy, power, and celebrity keeps it in the headlines. Next time in our cult series, we'll pivot to a smaller group with a huge footprint online, an internet-born belief system that shows how fast a modern cult can grow without compounds or uniforms. Until then, keep your eyes open and your tea hot.